Good morning, everyone. Let's begin together by taking a few breaths. So let it out. Exhale first. Take a deep breath in. Let go. Breathe in again. Let go. One more together breath. Breathe in. And let go. So, this month, we've been exploring curiosity as our principle, as our theme of exploration, and we've been rolling around this idea that we can claim curiosity as our superpower. And, you know, I'm a pretty curious person. I've been called a curious person once or twice in my life. And as I've been contemplating curiosity, I remember this story I've been told about. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, maybe, and I had family who was moving from Lancaster to Bakersfield, and my parents were helping them move, and my aunt said, "Oh, let me take Christopher in my car." I was Christopher at that time. And she said, "Let me take Christopher in my car." And it's about an hour-plus drive from Lancaster to Bakersfield. And my aunt arrives on the other side with, frazzled hair, and, I can imagine her glasses are on sideways, and she's kind of looking like this. And she goes, "If I hear the word why one more time..." And I think I've never stopped asking why. And there's this deep curiosity, I think, that we all come into this world with as children, right? We think we've never seen the world before, so we're seeing it all fresh for the first time, and we always want to know, where did all this come from? How did it happen? Where did it, why, how, what, when, where? And, Alan Watts says, when we all get to heaven, we're probably going to want to ask God, questions like, why is the grass green? And he'll say, chlorophyll. And we'll say, oh. But there's this curiosity within us that tells us we want to know why things are the way they are, right? And I think it's really easy to think that we've learned all the things and to wake up every day and just walk through it without this expectation that we're going to find something new. And yet, what we know in this place, what we tell you over and over and over again, is what you look for, you will find. The questions you ask are the ones that are going to get answered. And Ernest Holmes talks about this beautiful concept in the Science of Mind text of expectancy, which is different than expectation, right? And I'm a gardener. I love springtime, probably my favorite season in the whole turn. And the thing I love about spring, especially if you have a garden, or if you're a gardener, is there's this point in spring where you can wake up every single day and walk outside with this excitement of what's gonna have happened, right? Maybe a little sprout has happened, maybe a flower has opened, maybe a mushroom popped up that wasn't there yesterday, whatever it is. But in springtime, there's this ability to walk outside every day and say, what am I going to find? Right? And it's different than expectation, where you say, I'm looking for the thing I want to find. I'm expecting it to be there. It should be there. If it's not there, I'm going to be upset about it. Right? And we often have expectations about things we want to experience in our life, but what would it look like if we woke up every day with this sense of curiosity and expectancy about what we were going to meet, find, or discover in that day? Right? When I was little, I used to love looking for bugs and picking up logs and rocks, And every time with this expectancy, with this enthusiasm, with this curiosity of what's gonna be under this rock, right? What if we all woke up every single day and asked ourselves, with that level of expectancy and excitement, what are we gonna find when we open up this day? Yes. Right? Because then we're setting out on an adventure. We're opening ourselves up to find something we haven't found before. And maybe that's a thought. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's an idea. Maybe it's an interaction. But if we're looking with curious expectancy about what we're going to find, we will see something new. The universe, life, planet Earth, our experience is remarkable. There's so much happening here, but it depends on what we choose to look for. You know, Molly, who came up here and talked about the constellation workshop, she's one who finds miracles everywhere she goes. Because I know that Molly is someone who wakes up every day and asks herself, what miracles might I find today? What miracle could happen? And I tell you, every time I see Molly, she has miracle stories. Because she's looking for it. I get a text message, another miracle happened. It's like, tell me about it, right? Because she's looking for it, right? What we are looking for, we will find. And the thing is that excitement, expectancy, curiosity, openness, this willingness to look for the new, this allows us to be open. We have to be open. Because if we're not, if we meet the day saying, well, I know what's going to happen today, I've lived this day before, this is just going to be another one like yesterday, guess what you're going to get? Another one like yesterday. Right? And if we just keep perpetuating yesterday, we're not going to get anywhere. And there's a lot of yesterday's stuff that all of us individually and collectively seem to be continuing to perpetuate. And it's time to let that stuff go. If we're going to evolve, if we're going to step forward, if we're going to meet the life that's calling us, if we're going to fix all the problems of the planet and of society and all the stuff that's crumbling and falling apart around us, we've got to meet the world with curiosity. We've got to be willing to ask where the solutions are. Who are the people who are finding the possibilities, who are activating what could be, who are stepping into the next, who are coming up with the new ideas, who are creating new solutions, who are implementing new ways of doing and being. Because there are those people who are doing those things. And again, what we look for, we're going to find. There's a whole lot of people in the world who are perpetuating yesterday's stuff, who are looking with closed minds, who are carrying on their unhealed stuff. If we look for it, we're going to find it. There's lots of it. But if we want to make change, if we want to bring something new into the world, we have to be the ones who are willing to look for it. And we call this philosophy that Science of Mind is part of, new thought. If you want to have a new thought, you have to be open to have a new thought. You can't have new thoughts if you're not open to new thoughts, right? Which requires curiosity, which requires interest, which requires us to ask those deep questions. And last week I gave you a bunch of questions we might ask ourselves. When the difficult things happen, when pain shows up in our bodies, when breakdown shows up in the world, when the chaos stirs itself in our direction, we can ask, what could come from this? Who might I be on the other side of this? How could this be inviting me to evolve? What could this be inviting from us? Right? Or we can look at the problems of the world and they can shut us down. Because fear and anger and whatever other stuff might come up around what we see, that stuff shuts our mind down. When we're in fear, when we're in fight or flight, when we're in pain, we can't think outside of the moment. And so we've got to cultivate minds that are willing to look to a bigger idea, to expect something more to be at work here. And that might require a practice of trust. Because in order to expect the something more to be there, that also means that we have to trust that there's a greater something at work here. And that might be the harder part than being curious. Can you trust, believe, know wholeheartedly and completely that, as we say here, there is a power for good in this universe, that is at work in everything, that evolution has been unfolding for 14 billion years, and I don't expect it to start going backwards? Can we trust in something bigger? And even when we're in the moment, whatever that moment is, however long that moment seems to last, can we recognize that there's something more at work here? And if we're willing to ask for it, if we're willing to look for it, if we're willing to expect it to show up, we will start to see it. We have to be willing to maybe let go of some things that we think we know in order to be truly curious. That's kind of one of the things that I love about science as we know it these days, is we speak of science as something that really is this concrete truth. And yet, all good scientists know we have to have deep curiosity and be willing to prove ourselves wrong to open up new questions, right? And there may be collective agreements out there that we all hold that may not be true. There may be collective ideas about reality that we need to shift and change so that we can believe in something else, believe in something more. And it also takes great bravery to ask questions outside of the collective belief system, right? For a long time, everybody agreed the earth was flat. And then someone started asking questions, got a little bit curious, and found that maybe it's round. It is, by the way. Just in case. The earth is round. And then we start looking at the universe and we say, the cell is the very smallest thing in existence. And then we go, no. If we keep looking and asking more questions, turns out there's little particles down there. Those must be the base level of existence. And then we keep asking, we keep looking, we look a little further. Guess what? Those little particles made out of more particles. And those little particles made out of waves. Those waves made out of possibility. Those possibilities, who knows where they come from? God, maybe, I don't know. But if we keep looking, there's more. I love many of you know I'm just obsessed with the pictures from the James Webb Telescope that, we've looked out into the universe, pointed this telescope in a space where it just looks like there's nothing. And then they let it look, they let it ask, they let it peer into that darkness. And what turns out to be there? Billions more galaxies, right? There's a lot more here than we can see. There's something invisible at work here. There's greater complexity than maybe we can see in any given moment. And if we're willing to be curious, if we're willing to look, the metaphors, the meaning, the truth will reveal itself. But we have to be willing to look through what is. And like us looking through the telescope out into dark space, I may not be able to see what's there, but if I sit and look and wait, it will come into focus, right? But we have to be willing to look. We might have to be willing to wait, to let it come in. Because many of us are hurried in our lives, and we just want the answers like that. And really, the answers are going to come in the waiting, in the stillness. We have to slow down every once in a while, meditate, breathe, pray, listen, chant, allow the something deeper to come in. Because really, if you're here, I'm assuming you are a seeker of some kind, and there's some curiosity involved in that. You can't be a spiritual person without some level of curiosity. Because all spiritualities invite us to look inside of ourselves, which means we might have to explore something that we think we already know. And when we look at ourselves, just like when we looked at the atoms, we might think that I know who I am, but when I look at it truly and deeply in the stillness, there's another version of me who emerges. And if we keep looking, and we keep looking, we get down to that base level where the I am that I think I am, that you think you are, is the same thing. Underneath it all, there's more. But it takes willingness to be in that curious exploration of what is here. Because everything that we see is a result of the invisible. It's the result of our thinking. It's the result of evolution. It's the result of our collective consciousness. It's the result of our thoughts and emotions. None of those things you can see. And yet the entirety of reality is being manifested from those things. So everything we see is an effect. And if we want to figure out what's causing the effects, we have to be willing to look for the cause, which means we have to be willing to ask questions. We have to be willing to be surprised, perhaps. Because maybe there's something new here for you today that you've never seen or experienced before. And what if that was true tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day? What if we woke up every day with this expectancy that life was going to reveal something new to us, that there was going to be a miracle, that healing could happen today, that a new idea is going to drop into my life that's going to change everything, that that person that I've been looking to meet is going to show up today, whatever it is? What if we woke up with a joyous expectancy that it's on its way, that we're going to find it, and maybe even that that which I am looking for is also looking for me? And then we get to be in the interactive part of this process. That curiosity, I think, kind of wakes up the universe. As Gene Houston would say, when we really activate our lives and we wake up with the curiosity, it's like the gods look down and go, "Hot dog, we've got a live one there." You know, there's a lot of people walking through life relatively asleep, not excited about what they might find, just living in their experience. And then the universe sees the ones of us who are looking around like this, like waiting for something to happen. And that's where it wants to engage. We have to be a living invitation for something new to happen. Right? And each one of us has the opportunity to be a place where something new happens. Each one of us has passions and interests and desires and the things that catch our attention and really wake us up. Those are the questions that you're being lured to ask. If each one of us followed our passion and asked the questions that we are deeply passionate about, together, there's enough of us here on planet Earth that we could answer all the questions that need to be answered. We could fix all the problems that need to be fixed. We could find all the solutions that are necessary if every single one of us found our deepest passion and started to ask the deep questions and follow it where it was leading us. We could do it. But we've all got to wake up and be the interactive place where the something more is happening. And that takes deep curiosity, willingness to get excited, be surprised, and find something new, and maybe even have a new thought. Take a breath. And let go. Take another deep breath in. And let go. And as we breathe into this moment, I want each of us to just ask into our own hearts and minds, what would happen if I woke up today with an absolute sense of curiosity and expectancy as to what might be revealed, what might come my direction, what might open up today? Are we willing to truly stand in the knowing that there is a power for good in this universe that is so much greater than we are? And it is actually involved in, participating in, intricately interwoven into every experience, into every interaction, into everything that is happening. God and only God. And realizing that each one of us is a place where the allness of possibility, the great infinite divine mind, funnels itself into actuality, into reality, through our thoughts, through our choices, through our intentions, through the questions that we ask. Life creates. And so how sweet it is to realize and remember in this moment that each one of us can be a continued place of awakening. That we can awaken every single day, fresh and new, ready and willing to see what is evolving in front of us, through us, as us, and for us. The something more is at work here, and we must be the place that activates it, that wakes it up. Let us be a people who live so curiously into life that everywhere we go, we inspire others to ask those deeper questions. Let each one of us live by example as to what is truly possible. And so in this moment, I just speak a word of gratitude for this community that allows us to remember that there's something more at work here, that gives us the reminders to look at life with fresh, new eyes every single day, so that we might see something new. That perhaps we could have a shift in perspective, individually and collectively. knowing that the something more is seeking to reveal itself through us in every moment. Let us surrender to that and allow each one of us to be a channel for that newness and creation. And so let us just let it be the nature of who we are, to be curious and to greet every day with that deep sense of expectancy that Spirit is going to show up and that we will witness the miracles, the creation, the evolution, and the possibility. And so let us let it be as it is right now. And so it is.